Cormier does not need, as a way of correcting the statement or making up for some level of bias, he does not need to come out and start being nice to Jon Jones. That's a wonderful rivalry, those two. That Jon made clear with a tweet that he sent out, he's not looking to make whole. He only said that so that the commentators would be nice to him because his attitude is so fragile, which is what DC should have called him out for. Should have said, he comes out of nowhere, knows I'm calling a fight, comes public and wants to do a makeup. He just doesn't want me to say something bad as he's doing the walkout, which would be weird, which I wouldn't do anyway unless I said I've got a little bit of integrity, but this guy doesn't even watch the shows. He's never seen me commentate. He doesn't watch the sport. And that's what he should have said. And I've seen DC in this spot one other time. One other time. And it had to do with Deron Winn. And it was inappropriate is what it was. DC was so hard on Deron Winn that it was wrong. But the reason he was hard on him is outside of the cage, that's one of the guys he's closest with into the whole company. They're partners. DC is over at Glory, Wynn's over at Glory. They're close, they're tight. And DC knew of that biasness. He knew that other people knew of it. He didn't want to get called on it. So he overcorrected, and it was against Deron. It was too much. He then ends up in a similar situation as it had to do with Makhachev. Took Makhachev's side. He said he's got this battle going on with Gaethje. These two are going to try to duke it out in the media as opposed to actually getting in the cage with one another. It's all fair game. It's the way that this is going to go. DC believed it was Makhachev, and he laid his case out. It was a very good case by DC. But Gaethje called him out on it and says, no, you're not saying that because of your position or because of the expertise that you have. You're saying that because you're teammates, and that is a conflict of interest. He's wrong. Justin was wrong. That is not what Daniel was doing. Daniel did have intimate knowledge, and the opinions that he had were formed in some real private workouts that he saw because they were teammates. But it was not a biasness where he was looking out for the guys. And I could give you plenty of other examples. Luke Rockhold comes to mind just for a more recent one, where Daniel is extra hard on those guys. Now, I'm only saying this to you because it just appears to me that Daniel really wants to stay in the box. He doesn't want to look like a guy that has sour grapes. Why not? Why not? There's a number of announcers and commentators that want to come to you with a level of credibility. And the right thing to do in those situations is to disclose. You would sound silly to say, I come to you with no biasness. I'm completely objective and I can see through it. Don't even do that. Just tell the audience. Tell the audience straight up, I fought this guy. I lost to this guy. He cheated to beat me. I didn't get to rematch when we were both clean. He looks like he's clean now, but I'm out of the sport. I got a biasness to that. He could have beat me clean, but it looks like he's beating some of these other heavyweights. See, I think he's getting a little bit too much credit. I mean, DC should really tell it like this. He's coming out and he wants to look a certain way. What way is that? If you go out there and you're nice to Jon Jones because you're worried about the backlash, if you're not nice to Jon Jones, you're now getting controlled by Jon Jones. You got a coke addict telling you what to do. It's weird. I don't get told what to do by guys that are younger than me, on top of that. Like, if you do coke and you're younger than me, like, you're not going to be telling Chael what to do. There's no walk of life. There's no scenario. Won't happen. And there's also nothing wrong with Daniel coming out and saying it. And watching these guys, like try to do this fake makeup is a little bit weird. Like, just give you a great example. Daniel laid a case out today. And Daniel, boy, he knocked this right out of the park. He comes out and says, if Jon goes out there and rolls over Stipe, he runs the risk of having the exact same problem at heavyweight that he had at light heavyweight, which is people dressing up like empty chairs at his fights. The reduction of ticket prices. If you live in that local market, you're going to hear giveaways on every radio station. They're trying to do what's called paper the house. Jon Jones couldn't sell tickets. You couldn't make money with Jon Jones. And that carried over to his pay-per-views, which were abysmal. Except for the second time he fought Gus and when he's in there with Daniel Cormier. These aren't knocks on Jon. This is a reality. Daniel's right. It's a reality that Jon saw. And Jon had the courage to rectify. He had the courage to address and deal with and rectify. It took him 3 years. Took him all sorts of headaches, but he did it. It's a compliment to Jon. But Daniel is exactly right. Because you guys have already forgot what you saw. I have heard smart people in this, fellow fighters, talk about that was the most amazing. That was the greatest heavyweight fight. That was the most convincing. I mean, I hear these things. That fight was crap, just so you understand. If you don't know that because you don't know fighting, I don't give you a hard time. There's not a lot of people that do. The takedown was garbage. So you understand, you've never seen that takedown before because it's not a takedown. It wasn't a drilled skill. It was a change elevation and two bums bouncing into each other. Okay, the takedown was crap, and that was the biggest thing that happened. Surreal offered no offense from behind. There wasn't a sweep. There wasn't a Granby. There wasn't a stand-up. There wasn't an armbar attempt. There wasn't a knee bar. He offered nothing. He was looking for position. Understand what he's doing. Crawled over, got against the fence. Real smart thing to do. Jon jumps up, topside guillotine. We tap out, and we all go home. I'm just sharing for you. That wasn't this great fight. It was a great result. It was a great moment. It was impressive as hell. It was unexpected. It was glorious. It wasn't technical, and it wasn't a great fight. So now that we've done that against one known guy, another known guy named Francis is out of the company. Another known guy named Stipe is next. And if you go out and you have one of these surprising and shocking and ooh and ah moments against Stipe, who's left? And that's all Daniel said. All he's saying is who's left. You guys must understand. If Jon Jones was to lose to Ciryl Gane, if he was to lose to Francis Ngannou, if he loses to Stipe, it's not what he wants. It's going to be glorious for the MMA fans. Everybody's going to be glad that they tuned in. A lot of people are going to get what they want, and maybe we go on and set up a wonderful rematch, wouldn't it? Come back and try that thing again when Jon's not a little bit so risky. A story that's been told and told time and time again and will continue to be told throughout our industry. That is a very different scenario than Sergey Pavlovich beating Jon Jones. It's a wildly different scenario than Aspinall taking the belt off of Jon Jones. People, and I have seen this to every degree, I have seen this up to Khabib. I have seen this up to George St. Pierre. When it's all said and done, for reasons unknown, you could lose the match, but you could also walk away. They will then come out instantly with, you were not that good to start with. It's never not happened. When Anderson Silva lost, he was never that good to start with. Matt Hughes was ranked number 1 in the world, pound for pound. He was never that good to start with. BJ Penn, I mean, I can go through this. Like, it's never not happened. There's questions now of how good Fedor actually was, just because he's now done. And the answers to that from the detractors is going to be very, very different if you lose to Aspinall or if you lose to Pavlovich. And not because they're not good, because they're not known. They're not as known. Sergey Pavlovich is highly likely, at least compared to anybody else in the division, to be the one. But he's not known. So for the people that rewrite the story the very next day, they're going to destroy him. They're going to bury him. It's going to be very different. Daniel Cormier is completely correct. Daniel Cormier has been correct about every assessment that he gave. What he's incorrect about is the sensitivity in which he's approaching these topics. The former heavyweight champion of the world. You've got the right to an opinion. You have fought Jones and you fought Stipe multiple times each. There's nobody that we want to hear from more right now. There's nobody's opinion who would carry more weight right now. Do not be influenced by anybody, particularly a youthful drug addict.